history makers. That's right. I believe we are making history right now, in the present moment, here, now, and together. I believe that every thought, word, and action has contributed to the history of our ancestry, and in that, the history of humankind. The wisdom of the Dalai Lama tells us that there are only 2 days in a year where nothing can be done. One is called yesterday, the other is called tomorrow. So today is the right day to love, believe, do, and mostly live. And, may I say, create history. So today, together, we will consider history as an evolutionary concept, so we no longer have to think we're simply products of our past, but pioneering souls of our future. We'll connect with our own personal wisdom keeper, our heart mind. We'll ask the 3 questions of a conscious history maker. We'll ignite our passion to consciously create history in the present moment. So uniting the history of our past with the history of our future, with the contributions that we make to the present moment, our thoughts, words, and actions. That's what brought you here. This seems like a good idea. I'll call someone. Let's buy tickets. Let's go. Our thoughts, words, and actions brought us here, right? So, history makers, it is my humble honor to create history with you today. I'd like to begin our little journey with a simple prayer for remembering the motherlode. It's by poet Clarissa Pinkola Estes. We do not become healers. We came as healers. We are. Some of us are still catching up to what we are. We do not become storytellers. We came as the carriers of stories that we and our ancestors actually lived. We are. Some of us are still catching up to what we are. We do not become artists. We came as artists. We are. Some of us are still catching up to what we are. We don't become writers, dancers, musicians, helpers, peacemakers. We came as such. We are. Some of us are still catching up to what we are. We do not learn to love in this sense. We came as love. We are love. Some of us are still catching up to who we truly are. I come from people who moved rocks, big rocks, some weighing in at 50 tons. The history and evolution of this site is lengthy, and archaeologists, they can tell us, they can carbon date post holes back to 80,000 BC. You can go there, you can see them today. There's these white painted circles there, you can go and be part of that. So where you will find them is the middle of the parking lot. So when I follow my own ancestral timeline back, I find myself in visitors parking. What that tells me is that I do need to keep my sense of humor while going back into my ancestry. Of this site, we also know that it was a place of great gathering, 4,000 people coming for midsummer and midwinter festivals. We also know that this site is a place where people came from far and wide for healing. We also know that this site was once a great burial site. We are all experiencing Sankofa in the present moment, right here, right now. By us gathering, we are all able to go back onto our ancestral timelines to a place where it was important to gather, where it was important to come together and share stories, right? To listen to our elders. We all did this. We all gathered around the fires. All of us. This is a common unity we have. We all can go back and find that. So in the present moment, right now, we are experiencing that. Every one of us together. Gather around the fire, exchange ideas, listen to the stories. That's what we did. So as I thought about our story of today, I was thinking this. I was thinking about our gathering and what brought us here, and I realized on an ancestral level, our connections, this common unity. I realized that we were part of the family of humanity, that we had so much in common. I realized that our gathering today mirrored that of what went on my ancestral lands. And I thought, well, in the not so distant future, we are the ones the storytellers will be talking about. So I want to be mindful of my thoughts, words, and actions, because what are they going to say in those stories? And I thought, well, what would they say about us now, here in this present moment? The story would go something like this. The people came from far and wide. They gathered in honor of the spoken word. They gathered in honor of storytelling and sharing ideas. They gathered around the fire, the big TED circle. Our story will sound like that. The people came from far and wide. They built beautiful structures, and they came together. It'll sound like this. It was a warm day in the great city. It was the eve of the summer solstice. This mirrors things that were going on my ancestral land. We bring it forward just by showing up. We are experiencing Sankofa right now. And as I started to go back, I realized I didn't have to go very far back at all to bring forward knowledge and wisdom that benefits me in the present moment. I didn't have to go far back. I realized that within my own lifetime, I was a walking book of experiences. It was easy to go back, and I started to think of some examples. Maybe even as a 3-year-old boy, you'd think it's a good idea to bite your brother. And you bring that knowledge forward to present time, and you find out people don't like that. It's simple wisdom. It doesn't always have to be complicated. I came to understand I'd prefer to plug my car keys into the ignition of my car than into the electrical socket the day I tried that experiment. Simple wisdom. It doesn't always have to be complicated. A little further forward on my timeline, as a little girl playing in the forest, I bring that forward today, and I love my connection to the natural world, and it reminds me from back then. Don't forget that. I'm also reminded that Mother Earth has provided me with the best dance floor ever. A little further forward on my own timeline, as a young adult. So what I can do is I can bring forward the wisdom of adult decision-making thanks to the choices I made back then. I can bring that forward. So we all can bring forward something. We can go back thousands of years, hundreds of years, a handful of years. We can go back a few months. We can go back a few weeks, a few days. We can go back a few hours, a few minutes, and a few breaths. Well, how am I going to learn something by going back just a few breaths? Well, that's a little stretch, isn't it? If I continue to turn around and point at that, I learn that we don't have a connection. So I can learn just in the moment right here. I don't have to be off by myself learning. I'm learning with you together. We're all learning together here. So you don't have to go very far back. But side note, when we start going back into our ancestry, sometimes we can get a little bit stuck. We can get stuck on things that hurt our heart. Sometimes things are hard to look at. And what I have to say about that is at times what we bring forward to the present moment that is of benefit to us today is simply the wisdom to know what not to repeat. I'm going to say that again. Sometimes what we bring forward that is benefit to us in the present moment is to have the wisdom to simply know not to repeat it. Sometimes we can hold on to stories of our family so tight that it becomes near impossible to penetrate the origins of the story. And it's not in our realm to question it. Right? Enter the story of the pot roast. Some of you may have heard this before. A young woman's preparing a pot roast, her friend's looking on. She cuts off both the ends, spices it up, puts it in the pot, puts it in the oven, and her friend says, "Why did you cut the ends off?" And she says, "Well, that's the way we do it. I learned to cook from my mom. That's how we do it in my family." So her friend's question got her thinking. She should ask her mom. She doesn't even know why she does that. Next time she saw her mom, she said, "How do you cook a pot roast?" And she said, "Well, you cut off both the ends, you spice it up, you put it in the pan, you put it in the oven." And she said, "Why do we cut the ends off?" "Well, because that's how we do it. My mom taught me. That's how we do it in this family." Her daughter's question got her thinking. So next time she was at her mother's, she asked, "How do you cook a pot roast?" You see where this is going? So her mother said, "Well, you cut off both the ends, you spice it up, you put it in the pan, you put it in the oven." And she said, "Why do we cut the ends off?" And her mom said, oh, roasts were so much bigger back then than the pan I owned. I had to cut both the ends off just so it would fit in the pan I owned. So their family story, the why of that family story was so simple. So it is time now to meet our personal wisdom keeper, the heart mind. And we'll do a little meditation, so it gives you a chance to close your eyes. So you can go ahead and do that. You can close your eyes. Yeah. Take a nice deep breath. You can exhale and you can relax your shoulders. And we'll use our imagination. Start to come on up into your head mind. This is the place of your knowledge. Just look around in there. Maybe you can even see it like a library, filled with all of your knowledge. Have a look around. Maybe you see leather-bound books. Yeah, maybe gold-trimmed. Maybe it's a regal space. So this is the space of your knowledge. This is where everything lives that you have collected in your whole lifetime. Everything that you've brought forward in your ancestry is here. Take a nice deep breath again. Yeah. Now go ahead and choose a book off the shelf. Bring it down. You're going to bring it down into your heart mind. Yeah, just use your imagination. Bring that book from your place of knowledge into your heart mind. And again, use your imagination. You can imagine that you're flipping through your book. All the beautiful stories that you've brought through, all of your knowledge here. And we begin to process it in our heart mind. So now we begin to process it through our place of love and compassion and kindness and forgiveness and joy. Our stories, we start to look at them through our heart mind. And as we do that, we begin to liberate our head mind of pieces of the story that no longer serve our greater good, like cutting off those ends of the roast. Yeah, we start to make some space. So we're processing through our heart mind all of our stories. Again, we process it, and we read our stories with joy. We read our stories with forgiveness. Just still see yourselves flipping through the pages. As we process the knowledge from our head mind through our heart mind, it becomes our wisdom. So we now walk with that wisdom. A couple more breaths. Just really feel that land. Take a deep breath and come into the space again. You can open your eyes. So keep that with you. Your own personal wisdom keeper is your heart mind. So history continues to unfold with or without our conscious participation. Moments in time will keep unfolding, and how we place ourselves within that unfolding is completely up to us. So remember, our thoughts, words, and actions, they hold all of the power. We decide how we do what we want to do. But now what? Tools. We know we want to be a conscious history maker. We want to do it. This is a good idea. Well, we go back onto our timeline. We figured that out. We're going to pick some spots on our timeline and bring it forward, because that will give us our knowledge and we'll turn it into our wisdom. But really, how do I apply that in a day-to-day setting? How has that become my practice? Well, we have tools to support us, because we are now conscious history makers. First, we ignite our passion to consciously create history in the present moment. So what that means is we get all fired up about it. We want to do it. You might even like to have something like a match on your desk, just to remind you that your passion has been ignited, to remind you of that fire in your heart. And I have brought matches for everyone, so see me after, please. Also, we ask ourselves the 3 questions of a conscious history maker. Hey, see, I knew this was going to happen. There we go. 1, will this harm me? 2, will this harm someone else? 3, will this harm my environment? So these really funnel us in to make a decision, right? These are great questions just to get us there. 3, maintain communication with your wisdom keeper, your heart mind. Keep going there. Keep bringing those beautiful stories and all of that knowledge from your head mind right down into your heart mind. It is your wisdom keeper. Keep processing through love and beauty, compassion, forgiveness, and joy. Our Hopi friends tell us we are who we've been waiting for. I believe that we have created history today together, and I believe that we have been entrusted with what's to come next. Thank you.